Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Bathhouse of Delmar, together with my co-host Marc Gronich, who has the website jbiztechvalley.com and statewide news. And we have a very, very special guest with us today, Councilman Anton
Konev.
Anton, can I call you by your first name?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
Well, welcome to the Jewish View, and we have some very interesting interviews with you today because where were you born over here? That would be a very interesting start to the conversation.
Sure, I'm an immigrant, just like many of my constituents are. Most of them are immigrants from South Asia, or a lot of them are immigrants from Africa. But I am an immigrant from the Eastern Europe, specifically St. Petersburg, Russia, where I immigrated from in 1997.
At what age?
I was 13 years old, and I lived for a while in Forest Hills, Queens, a very prominent Jewish community in New York City.
And now you're 29 years old.
And now I'm 29 years old and a city councilman running for re-election now.
Okay.
It's like, I was about to ask you, say that in Albany there's so many immigrants. I mean, I never thought of Albany as that much of an influx. You always think of New York City. So there are that many in Albany, people coming in from overseas and settling here?
Well, we one of the refuge centers, actually designated by USCIS as a site where refugees settle. We also have many older immigrants. The Russian American community immigrated up to Albany at some point during the Soviet era, and Benai Brief apartment complex, which I currently represent, is a very big Russian, mostly Russian Jewish community here in Albany.
Now, you got elected in that district because there is such a high predominance of Russian immigrants that are living in that part of your district. I mean, that really put you over the top in the three-way race when you first got elected.
It certainly helped,
Yeah.
but I certainly had a much wider support than just that building, and so now once again I'm working on a wide support.
Okay, so let's see, you're married, you have a stepson, and things are going along nice in your personal life. You bicycle everywhere, I see. You don't drive.
Well, now I actually do drive a bit.
You have a license?
And yes, and my wife sort of being a family man, you can no longer get your entire family across on a bike. So I have a vehicle, family vehicle now, that I do a lot of campaigning on as well. Now, where I used to try to balance the campaign signs on a bicycle, now I throw them in a car and get them to where I need to. But I am still riding the bike until it got stolen, actually. 3 days ago my bicycle got stolen out of my apartment complex, so I'm going to be purchasing a new one.
Well, I just have to tell you, this isn't the first time you've been a crime victim. I mean, you've had some issues I saw from the even before you were elected. That's what really prompted you to get into politics, was the fact that you had an issue where by the university, downtown campus, and then you couldn't find the police officer at the time, and you really wanted to have safer streets.
Certainly, something that prompted me to start a neighborhood watch in the Midtown area was that I was a victim of an attack by a few teenagers who just had nothing better to do. And so that made me think about crime, as well as making sure that we have some programs for teenagers in our city so that they are not looking at just attacking some random college student in the area. That was it, and it's not. I have had 3 bicycles stolen. Now one of them was used in a robbery and was later returned to me by the Albany Police Department. I'm hoping that this bicycle will also get recovered. One of my bicycles was never recovered, but this one was registered with the police, and so I'm hoping for a better.
Now I'm sorry, Rabbi.
I just want to say I find it interesting that, again, that you're born in communist Russia, and maybe you were very young, but here you are really in the mainstream of American politics. That's very interesting. I mean, maybe granted you were so young when you came over, so really, you have an accent and you were born in Russia, you're really a good American, you were raised in America, but to me it's interesting, that there's other people born in Russia that, really right into the American political scene to become elected or be involved in politics?
Well, for a while, Rabbi, it wasn't big for the Russian community to be politically involved in the United States. And it's not until very recently, 8 years ago, a little bit over 8 years ago now, that we got our first Jewish Russian-American assembly member, Alec Brook Krasny. And currently in New York City, we're hoping for 2 more Russian-American city council members to be elected. So the Russian community really is getting up there and is getting some candidates of their own. Here locally, I didn't run necessarily as a Russian American. I ran on a wide support base on community issues, crime, making sure that community policing is there, making sure that the quality of life issues get addressed. That's the biggest thing for my constituents, whether it's dog poopings that are not being picked up. So we need to remind people that there is a tough penalty for not picking up dog litter, and that it is their responsibility. But we also, as a city, need to make sure that there's enough garbage cans, that the garbage could be put, including the garbage from the dogs.
Now we have a sister city, Albany has a sister city in Russia called Tula. And I hear that you're a member of the AlbanyTula Alliance?
I'm a member of a business committee of the AlbanyTula Alliance, and 2 good friends of mine, Jerry Shea and Charlotte Buchanan, are leading that alliance. And it was Charlotte's idea back when it was still Soviet Union and sort of a breakup of the Soviet Union in 1992, that we needed to show Americans what Russian culture is about, and show Russians what America is about. It's more an alliance centered around cultural exchange. So we have professors and we have students and faculty from schools come here, and in turn there's an essay contest that they sponsor every year, that a student from American school gets to go to Russia and learn about their culture. So most recently, it was interesting, is the Move On petition to the mayor asking the mayor to end the relationship because of Russian laws against homosexuals and promotion of homosexuality. But what the organizers of that petition don't understand that is that this kind of sister city relationships are a lot more about the culture and exchange of real people,
and not
like
policy, and not policy issues.
not
like
politics. Now, you know, I'm a politician, but I consider myself more of an advocate and a regular person. I work 2 jobs in order to sustain my family. You often will see me in a suit, but today I specifically said that I want to be more like most of my constituents. As a matter of fact, some of my constituents have told me, "Oh, we'd like to see you outside of a suit sometime.
Yeah.
We'd like you to be more like us." And I am like a lot of my constituents, working 2 jobs and getting making it paycheck to paycheck. So I understand what it is like to struggle. I want to make sure that our city taxes are being kept low, but at the same time that there are services for the residents.
Excellent.
What you were saying about working 2 jobs, is that one of them the Common Council job?
Yeah, one of them is a
Okay.
Common Council job,
Which
but,
pays-
which pays $20,000.
Okay, plus
You
health
know,
insurance, plus health benefits.
Plus there's a health insurance job. But a lot of folks have said, well, those politicians, they make laws for a living. It's hardly
It's
that
a citizen legislature.
It's hardly that it's a full-time job. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and start answering emails when I go to my regular job, and when I come back home, I have to go to meetings at night. The meetings usually are over, hopefully by 9. Some of them run a little bit later. When I get home, and once again I respond to emails. And then my lunchtime, I used to work at the state legislature. I often had phone calls gathered up in my voicemail from constituents. So I took my lunchtime sitting somewhere in a corner and responding to on my phone. I have a smartphone. I responded to emails and I responded to phone calls on my lunch hour. So I'm always busy and trying to always keep up with my constituents.
No one should put Anton in the corner.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you about a question that's come up by my neighbors, and sort of a man on the street type of question of what actually goes on during Common Council meetings. Because people have no idea, the average person has no idea what goes on in those meetings. Now, I go to the meetings, I speak out, I know what goes on. I just think that maybe you should talk about your vision of what goes on.
Well, certainly one of the things that a lot of folks don't know is that they have a chance to come to a Common Council meeting and voice their opinion. And it doesn't have to be on the topic that's currently discussed. It could be of any topic of an interest to you.
So the council,
we start off with hearing from our constituents.
So the council, well, that's not really, but the council meetings start at 7 p.m. And what is it, the first and third Monday, or second and fourth Monday? Or
first and third Monday of every month.
Okay, except if there's a holiday on a
yes.
Monday, and then it's a Tuesday or something like that.
Thursday usually.
Okay,
Yes.
so we have those, so we have the public comment session at 7, and that goes on, what, about a half hour, 45 minutes?
It depends on how long.
But everyone gets 5 minutes to speak.
Yes.
And then when that's over, then you start the regular legislative deliberation.
Yes, we
now,
have.
Before the public comment session, though, you have a caucus.
Yes.
And since all of you are Democrats in the Common Council, it's like a preview of the Common Council meeting, listening to all of you around the table, talking about what you're going to talk about at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And those
Sure.
happen at 6 o'clock, and the public can come to those caucus meetings also.
It's more of a work session. So during was pre-meetings, we go over what is on our agenda, what order we're going to. For example, we sometimes have groups come in. We had Albany High School Falcons who won, and we wanted to recognize them. So what we would do is we would take up a resolution out of order, because the order that we usually take up is we take up local laws, then ordinances, then resolutions. But if we have somebody that we want to recognize at the meeting, we recognize them first.
Right.
So we take it out of order. So that's some of that discussion. Often also during the caucus meeting, so you will find out about what's coming up, what are upcoming committee meetings that are going to be happening, where we discuss the legislation.
Yeah, but at the committee meetings is where the real nuts and bolts happen.
Oh, yes.
And most people have no idea that there are committee meetings even going on. I don't even know, I mean, can you tell me how many committees the Common Council has?
The Common Council has, I believe, 8 committees. But
8 committees.
You might, I might be
Let's
wrong.
say 8 committees, okay? So they meet throughout the interim 2-week period between the Common Council sessions. Then they go into a caucus meeting, and they got most of the blueprint already lined out, and then you discuss, all right, I don't like this word, this, tweak that. Then the attorneys go and they make the corrections on the computer and bring the bill, as discussed, back to the Common Council when you vote on it. So you're doing a lot of talking. You're talking in the committee meeting, you're talking in the caucus, you're talking in the Common Council session itself. Isn't there a way to streamline all of this? Isn't there a way to even get the public more involved? Because the public's not coming to the committee meetings. If they speak up at the public comment session, it's a foregone conclusion that what they already have done is going to pass. So if they see that there's a topic on the agenda that they want to speak out against and urge the legislators not to vote for it, they've already been committed. They went through a committee meeting, they went through a caucus meeting. Where's the, is it just show? It seems like it's just show and tell.
Well, not necessarily.
It seems that way.
Here's one of the problems with our council is that there's a lot of folks currently on the council who don't like change. So they didn't want a prayer to be said before the beginning of a council meeting. They didn't want to have regular scheduled meetings. They didn't want to cut down the size of a common council. So it's a lot of the status quo. Now, I have advocated for regular scheduled meetings of those committees, so that if you have a topic you're interested in, you know that on such and such date, this year, there will be this committee meeting. What happens now is that it's a very ad hoc approach. We have an issue, we want to discuss it, let's schedule a committee meeting a week and a half from now. Now, in that week and a half, I might be, as a constituent, I might be on my vacation. So I would never know that this issue has even been discussed, or the committee has met. So I agree with you. There's a lot of issues that need to be discussed, and we need to have a council that's open to changes.
So is there a coalition in the Common Council? Is there a coalition of the young upstarts as opposed to the old stalwarts, and that they're sort of battling against each other?
You could say that there is some young blood on the council. Councilmember Lester Freeman, myself, Councilman Frank Camiso.
What about Leah Golby or Ron Bailey?
And sometimes Ron and Leah go the more progressive route and take more approaches that are not necessarily popular. Sometimes they don't. I would really identify, Frank Camiso, myself, and Lester Freeman as more of a, people who are open to more
Now,
changes.
there are some councilmen who are not going to be running again, Jim Sano, John Rosenzweig. Are those stalwarts that are going to, that you're sort of, from where you're standing, happy to see go away so that there could be more progressive young folks, or are they just going to be replaced by party hacks that want to keep same old, same old?
Well, we'll see.
Well, I'm asking
in was
what's your view?
In was elections, we are competitive. Finally, competitive elections. But we have more competitive elections this year than we have ever on the Common Council. In I don't know, 40 years probably.
And we know that the primary is essentially the general election because there are only Democrats really running. This seems to be a one-party town, one-party city. It's been that way for 90 plus years. So I understand that people should really get out and vote, regardless of who they vote for, but it should be a higher turnout. And I don't want to talk about politics per se, but I do want to talk about the makeup of the council. And do you see it getting better from your point of view, the way you'd like to see it?
Yes, I see some changes, some new blood coming in, people who are ready to shake things up, people who are connected with the community, people like Andres Cervera, who hopefully will get elected. Many others who are sort of.
We're not talking about the candidates here because it's public access. So we just talk about things in general.
Sure.
Okay. So we have a. So do you? This is a slow change. I remember when the Corning administration. Mayor Corning would pick people that he would want to be on the council, and like Harold Greenstein, when he passed away, the stories were told how the mayor wanted him to be on the council. So, there hadn't been a no vote in the Common Council in about 50 years.
Well, the good thing...
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Everyone went along with what the mayor wanted. The mayor set the agenda for the Common Council. They went along with him. And this went through the Whalen administration a little bit also. And then, when Jennings came in, they were finally feeling comfortable to vote no on something, the members of the Common Council.
The good thing is we're going to have a new mayor. Whoever the people are supporting will be the new mayor of the city of Albany. I could tell you with confidence that the new mayor, whoever it is not going to be a part of a machine. All the candidates are sort of outside of that machine talk. And one of the things that I speak about is our job as a council is to check the mayor and the administration. Everything from when the police does something wrong to when DGS doesn't do their job, to when the mayor proposes financial changes that are not in the best interest of the city. Such as the mayor closed down the Bathhouse #2. I was very much against it.
Why? It wasn't being used. Why? It was a waste of money. Why would you be against closing it?
Because nobody thought about revitalizing it. Just like the YMCA sort of closed their branch on Washington Avenue without, I feel, a good good way, with partially Planet Fitness wanted to come in there and they wanted to keep a fitness in our neighborhood.
But it's repurposed now.
It is repurposed, and it is...
it didn't stay vacant long,
no.
So,
in a sense, yes, it is repurposed. Yes, it is being used for great causes. But there's still 2 empty pool spaces that haven't been repurposed in that building.
But closing down the bathhouse, I mean, you were spending money on the Common Council, was spending money on keeping that open when there wasn't any reason for it. It's like why they're closing prisons and mental health facilities around the state, because there's only 3 people in those facilities. So they're closing them down and moving the patient somewhere else. You know, if you don't have a use for it, you don't have to stand there with a banner and say, here, this is free, you got to use it. Here, come in, take people by the hand. People don't want to use it, they lose it. That's the end of it. What's wrong with that?
In a sense, that is true. But just because something is there and it's not being used doesn't mean that it shouldn't be used.
No, they didn't tear it down. It means that they could reopen it sometime in the future.
Okay, Mark, then languages programs being cut at the universities.
Okay.
Should they be cut just because in the last couple of years we want as many students in those programs as they should be? It's the same thing. Should humanities...
That's not a common council issue.
No, but I'm saying in comparison of something is there, it's not necessary at this particular moment not being used as much, should it be cut. And I'm making a comparison to the Bathhouse.
If we didn't, is there anything else that you want to mention that we didn't bring up yet?
We only have a few more minutes, yeah, so we have to
sure
make a conclusion, make a last thought of what you try to, maybe your purpose in the common council, you know, or what have you achieved, what you'd still like to achieve in the future.
Well, we certainly have achieved a lot in moving technology forward in our city. And so I have even been using the applications of reporting different issues and getting much better response from DGS, for example. So things that I am proud of is improving my neighborhood. Everything from garbage cans that I have gotten in to economic development, with new gas station going into on Washington Avenue, to hopefully we're going to have a Head Start program on Ontario Street. Many of those things that I'm proud of, getting better responsiveness from the city is what I strive for, and we have a lot more to do. I have a taxi cab reform that we got to make sure that we have the level of customer service that New York City taxi cabs have in our taxi cabs here in Albany. Should be no reason why those taxi cabs are falling apart and people are allowed to use them in the condition that they are.
Okay. Rabbi, any?
I think that's excellent. And, you know, again, as I said at the beginning of the show, I mean, you're working so much for the community, and it's just so good to see that, you know, like that was the old story in America, that anybody could make it and everybody participates, and you don't have to wait for the second, third generation, you know, to become like a good American. You can come right off the boat, so to speak, and actually have a good effect. And, you know, we see you care for the community, you are affecting the community, and kudos to you and to anybody watching that, you know, that if you stand up, you feel about something, and I'm sure everybody feels about some issue or another, you know, you could participate. So thank you very much, Councilman Anton Konev, of course, my co-host Marc Gronich, and to all our viewers, have a good evening.